Welcome to At the Movies with Matt and Ryan
And Trent.
for a big episode.
Yeah.
Trent is here as well
Hello.
because he saw Black Panther,
I did.
which is the big movie that we will be reviewing. We'll also be reviewing others as well, like Annihilation, The Ritual, Cloverfield, which came out a few weeks ago.
Cloverfield Paradox.
But obviously everyone's talking about Black
Thanks for
Panther.
interrupting
Black
me.
Panther. So Black Panther, I'll give a synopsis and we can give our thoughts. Black Panther was first introduced from the Civil War movie, which came out 2 years ago.
What?
And now this is the
Is
first...
he playing Ulysses S. Grant? Marvel Civil War.
And now we have the first standalone movie for Black Panther. So, after the death of his father, T'Challa,
I'm just gonna... This is funny.
1 second. Alright. So,
Wakanda forever.
Alright, so after the death of his father, T'Challa returns back to the...
We're gonna still go.
to the African nation of Wakanda to take his rightful place as king.
We can't keep this.
When a powerful figure suddenly reappears, T'Challa's medal as king and Black Panther gets tested when he's drawn into a conflict that puts the fate of Wakanda and the entire world at risk. So that synopsis was, I don't know.
cut this.
No, we can't.
You laughed for a good minute before.
It's so funny.
Alright, we'll cut around
People
it.
know what it's about, alright? But that's an overall synopsis of it. Matt, you want to give your thoughts first?
You can start.
Alright. So, on the show Friday, which Matt wasn't here for because he got stuck at work, I gave initial thoughts on the movie, but I didn't really want to go in too in depth because I knew we would do a review together. So what I was really impressed with this movie, probably more than a lot of other Marvel movies, was the ability for Ryan Coogler to tell a story in an effective manner, in a manner that I care about, and it was just very, very well written and very well directed too. And I felt like Marvel kind of let Coogler do his own thing, and I think that's why this movie was a lot more effective than previous Marvel movies that we've seen. Also, I cared about all the characters, which is kind of rare in Marvel films. Like Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger was just as intriguing as Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. But yeah, overall, I mean, this was as good as I thought it was going to be. I think.
Yeah. Which one did you think?
I mean, Ryan said a lot, covered a lot. I do think having, a solid good guy and a solid bad guy really made this very dope superhero movie. That's for sure. I think Michael B. Jordan stepped up to the plate. Big role for him, one of his biggest.
Poppy.
Knocks it out of the park, yep. Matt, I'm sure you got more to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does kind of follow the standard Marvel areas in some aspects. The action scenes, they're a little too overproduced. The CGI is kind of shoddy. Especially the final battle. It didn't really hit that high note. I think the pacing's a little inconsistent. And
Yeah.
there's some issues.
I agree with you.
But this is still one of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe films. Yeah, and I think it's because Coogler interjects the story with such a strong cultural and family-based bond between these people. And I also think because he injects it with the political, social culture of the United States right now. So he adds in some interesting layers that kind of simmer and I think end up having a good effect.
Yeah, I agree with the pacing aspect. There is I'm not going to spoil it obviously, but there is a specific scene or a specific point in the movie where I thought happened a little too quickly, and we kind of got back on track too quickly.
When you say the story is like Lion King, it's very much like the Lion King, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I'm trying to recall Lion King. It's been a while, but
The Lion King and Star Wars. Too.
yeah.
It had those kind of vibes to it.
Yeah. I do think the action scenes, I think the trailer made it look like the action scenes would be like the coolest thing ever. And when like seeing them after seeing the movie, there's only a couple action scenes. And
There's only like 3 real fights.
Yeah. And second of all, I just don't think they were like that mind blowing. And like I understand that maybe like Coogler focused a little too much on the storytelling and not enough on like directing action scenes, but it is tough to balance that, I think.
I think the Korea scene was pretty dope.
The what scene?
The Korea
Oh
scene.
yeah. No, the Korean scene was cool, and I think the casino scene especially, the way that he used like sound effects and like music in general in that scene.
I don't know. The use for praise for me was pretty. Weird.
Well, no, not like the Kendrick, not from the Kendrick album. I just mean like the sound effects, like the African drums and the like the end of King's Dead where it's like
the performances are really
cool.
great, and that's what helps a lot. Chadwick Boseman, it makes for a really strong and compelling hero. You know, he's able to have some shades of doubt and weakness, but is still a very strong and commanding presence. And I love Michael B. Jordan in this movie. He made for a great villain because you can kind of see where he's coming from in some senses.
Yeah.
Like, he's not entirely evil. You know, he has some qualities that you can kind of sympathize with. So
I think what I really liked about this movie was like Coogler seemed to seemed to keep this movie grounded from like start to finish. Like, there are some superhero movies, like we see in Wonder Woman, where there is a huge battle at the end, where, like, the first 2 hours of the movie...
My retort to that is animated rhinos, so I don't know, dude.
What?
The rhinos at
the end? Okay, that wasn't an animated rhino.
Yeah, it's
that was
CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it was all
that's
CGI.
CGI's animation guy.
Alright, yeah, but the movie was still grounded, I think, throughout. There wasn't... Like, even the... I don't want to spoil it, but, like, there's a fight scene at the end that, like, wasn't that, like...
It got a little silly to me.
Okay, that's one part, though. I'm not going to knock the movie because of one rhinoceros that showed up. Like, I still think most of the battle scenes and most of the movie itself was pretty grounded and even, like, realistic at points.
I feel you. What's your rating?
As far as thematic elements go. What's up?
What's your rating?
I'm going to go with an 8. I think this is just a fantastic achievement in general. Between the Kendrick Lamar album and the movie, I think it just lived up to the hype, and it's good to see that, you know? This is a big achievement in cinematic history.
So, Trent, what's your score?
I'd have to say an 8 as well.
An 8?
Enjoyed it very much.
It's tough for me. I kind of want to go 7.5.
Michael B. Jordan did say that he studied Heath Ledger from The Joker before doing
it was a really, really solid, well-made movie, though.
Yeah. All right. So... that was Black Panther. I'm sure most people have either checked it out or are about to. But we should move on to Annihilation. Matt. I feel like that's the next big one. I feel like
we can cover that.
And Trent will also stay here too because he saw.
It'd be awkward if you just left.
Well, no, I know that, but like
he's here to stay.
No, I'm saying like Trent will also be participating in our ritual. The ritual movie.
Your ritual.
My ritual. But yeah, Annihilation. The Natalie Portman movie. Want me to give a synopsis?
Sure.
All right. So directed by Alex Garland, also written by him. He did Ex Machina, and stop. He wrote and directed Ex Machina, which came out a couple years ago, which Matt was a huge fan of. All right, and now he's back for Annihilation. So based on Jeff Vandermeer's best-selling Southern Reach trilogy, Annihilation stars.
What?
That's what it says. Annihilation stars Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gina Rodriguez, and Oscar Isaac. Alright, so man, you want to give your thoughts? I want to keep it. I want to keep the I don't want to spoil it. Alright? What? That's what people want to know. What's it? I don't know what's so funny. I don't know what's so funny. Alright, anyway.
You just listen to Kevin.
That was the synopsis. Alright.
All right, you want to share your thoughts?
My thoughts on Annihilation. I think this movie was really well directed, really well shot. It was visually one of the more impressive movies that I've seen in the past couple of years. And it wasn't like a surprise to me after seeing Ex Machina. Like I really thought that was very visually well done. But I think like Garland, at least from Ex Machina in this movie, I feel like some of his writing gets a little like pretentious. I feel like at times.
What do you mean by pretentious?
Especially at the end. Well, some of the like we did discuss this, Matt, where like the themes in this movie weren't as strong as Ex Machina, and I think that at the end of the movie, especially in Annihilation, he seems to think that it is like a big concept that he discovered himself or something.
I think
and
it's
it really
him being
is.
creative though.
I know he's taking risks, and that's why I really enjoyed this movie too. Is this was definitely a risk-taking type movie, and I feel like a lot of people knew what they were getting themselves into. There was a lot of group of teenagers here probably expecting like a horror movie.
Teenagers.
Yeah, there were. There was like 3 groups.
There was
of
a little kid. We gotta talk about that.
Yeah, there was kid too, and this movie was very rated R. I mean, there was a few violent scenes, and there was a bear scene in this movie that was especially impressive. Better than the Leo bear scene from The Revenant.
I agree.
I think Matt could attest to that. But that was, I mean, I think it's hard to put a genre on this movie, but I mean, whatever it is, it turned out pretty effective. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I just think Garland's a really skilled director. I like his kind of slow and deliberate pace to this movie. It really kind of gets you into this world. There's something kind of eerie and mysterious about the setup and the characters. I think Natalie Portman gives a good performance. I think the cast in general give good performances. I think visually the movie's stunning. It works on the levels of a genre movie. It gives you a really interesting high concept premise, and there's some really like taunt and thrilling and exciting moments. But it also has some deeper things that it's trying to talk about. I mean, you can go anywhere from the degeneration of the environment to cancer to there's a lot of different ideas kind of Garland I think puts out, and some of them work better than others. I think he still struggles at doing it visually. He has to kind of have those speeches to be like, oh, we're all broken, like stuff like that, kind of explicitly say the point,
Yeah. My 2 gripes of the movie, I think, were one of them being that there's a couple subplots in this film that really are very weak and kind of just never get. I think they just never get developed well at all, and they just turn out pointless in the end. And I think my other gripe with the movie.
Which ones?
Well, I don't want to show you.
There's the ending.
Okay. Well, I think the scenes with Natalie Portman and like the person that's her coworker, I believe, at the university that she teaches at. Yeah, I think that's a big issue. That never really gets fully developed, and there's like a couple scenes with both of them that really just don't have anything to do with the movie.
I think it has to do with, not to spoil it, just has to do with her relationship and the deconstruction.
I guess I just didn't think it was developed well, and I think the end of the movie. I think this movie does a fantastic job of building up the intensity and the interest with the plot, but then like I feel like nothing that interesting comes out at the end.
I think the end's pretty interesting. It's just so weird, It's like a dance.
It seems like a concept, but the end of the movie, the concept that I get out of it is something that I feel like I've seen in other movies. Like it's not that original, and it kind of disappointed me because I think the whole movie builds up the intensity to that point. And I think that just didn't really do anything for me. But
I just love that this movie had some genuinely scary moments,
Yeah, no, the horror in this movie was I would say I was scared, but it definitely like gave me chills. As weird as that sounds, like the bear scene we mentioned, and there's a couple other ones too.
A lot of like holy shit moments.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a couple scenes that I don't want to spoil, but. Yeah, but I think this is definitely worth a watch. I think it will. I at least get like mainstream audiences to think. So yeah.
What's your rating?
I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Me too.
All right, so we're around the same for that one. So let's keep.
We are the same.
Well, it can fluctuate here and there. So let's move on to the next one. Let's keep this going. I guess the next one we could do is the Ritual, right?
Yeah,
So
we'll
get Trent back in this.
I'm back.
Trent's back. He's producing this podcast. But he's also in it too. He's also in it too. He's like a rapper that can do both.
Thanks.
Rap and produce. But anyway, so the Ritual Matt watched separately, but me and Trent watched together a couple days ago. Let me pull up the synopsis.
Mention that.
What? Well, no, I'm just saying. So reuniting after the tragic death of their friend, four college pals set out to hike through the Scandinavian wilderness. A wrong turn leads them into the mysterious forest of Norse legend,
Brian dies.
where an ancient evil exists and stalks them at every turn. So we're going to stop it there. That's a synopsis. It's on Netflix, a Netflix original.
You
What?
weirdo.
What?
Alright.
I had to get into my informative voice.
Trent, you can start.
Yeah, Trent.
I thought this was a fun movie. It was definitely interesting. Nothing, it wasn't anything unbelievable, but I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, there was a few problems with it. Some red flags that were a little too obvious for talking story. Like it's like, all right, like I don't know. I'm trying to think the woods. There's a couple things that goes on in the woods, and it's like, all right, maybe this could have in real life steps in. Reality. Like if we were there, probably would have made a little smarter decisions. But I mean, all in all, it was cool. I thought the monster was cool.
I agree with you, Trey. I see what you're saying. Like, as I thought about this movie more, I felt like first of all, it was very well directed. I was actually kind of impressed with the cinematography and the way it was shot.
Yeah, it was shot well.
But I agree with Trent that the red flags in this film were definitely obvious, and like there was a lot of
like you knew it was only it was setting up, and it was like a little too obvious.
It was an interesting
like it was
story.
following a formula. Like, here's the one first warning.
Yeah.
And
that's the problem. And that's the sad part too, is that this movie definitely seemed like it could have been different from other horror movies and taking a different route. But then they had like these few generic horror aspects.
It ended up being just okay because I think it does build up a good sense of atmosphere and a good sense of mystery. Once you kind of figure out what's going on, I kind of was like, that's it. Like, I don't know. The end, like there's some cool creature design. Not to spoil anything, but. The ending with the actual ritual it's just not that interesting. Mm-hmm. And the emotional arc they tried doing with the main character and his guilt, it's just kind of one-dimensional. And none of the other characters really have any proper characterization to make them memorable or likable. Or
it would have been.
Them.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to bring up that point.
But there's definitely a lot of scenes that were like kind of intense, like more than I thought. And I felt like if I was in the theater, I probably would have felt that intensity. But, I mean, overall, I thought it was very well done, especially for a Netflix film. And, I do agree. I think this movie does suffer from the same, I guess, gripes that I have for other horror movies. Like, like the undeveloped characters, the poor arcs, some of the other subplots are weak. But I think overall I was intrigued with this movie throughout the entire hour and a half. I don't think there was really any bland part to this movie. I think overall it really it definitely I stayed interested in it throughout the entire running time. But Matt just left for a second. He left the room, but me and Trent can give a rating. I'll give it a 7. I dropped a little bit, but what do you got, Trent?
I had fun with it, so I'd go with a 7 too.
Yeah, and I think Matt said. What'd you say?
7.
And Matt said from the other room a 7, so we all agreed on that. Wow, this is interesting. It seemed like we've agreed on one here. Yeah. Hey, this has been a fun show so far, but Matt's back. I feel like I think the only one we have left that we both saw was Cloverfield.
Yeah, we'll wait with Mute, I guess.
Yeah, Matt also saw Mute, but I might see that, so we could probably do that on the show on Friday.
It was really shitty. I'll just.
Yeah. Oh, Phantom Thread too.
Don't watch it. Phantom Thread.
Yeah,
we can wait for the show for that.
Yeah, Phantom
Thread we can talk about, and we'll talk about like our last second Oscar things.
Yeah. But let's get rid of Cloverfield. Let's get rid of Cloverfield though here. Cloverfield, Matt and I both saw a few weeks
The
ago.
Cloverfield Paradox. Cloverfield's my title guy.
Yeah.
You called the Cloverfield was the first.
Well,
Cloverfield
I know,
movie.
but like, we're not gonna review an old movie. Like, I don't know.
Well, according to
So
you,
anyway,
we are.
Cloverfield Paradox was released on Netflix a few weeks ago.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday, yeah. It directed by Julius Ona, and it follows a crew aboard a space station that finds itself alone after a scientific experiment causes the Earth to disappear. When a space shuttle appears, the space station's crew must determine if it is carrying friends or foes. Wow, this movie was forgettable. Not only because we saw it 3 weeks ago, but just because it's just nothing interesting.
It was really generic. I mean, like shocking. It was just like an Alien ripoff.
It wasn't. It
really was.
It was just. It was lazy too, though. Like it was. Yeah, it was an Alien ripoff. They did nothing to like progress the genre of horror films. Like they did nothing to bring. They didn't bring anything interesting to the table. The characters had no arcs. I think like the main woman, they tried having an arc about like her and her husband who was played by David Oyelowo. But like that just never got developed either.
No, David Oyelowo is not.
Oh, he was the captain, yeah. Either way though, they all didn't really have an arc. But I don't know.
The weird thing is how good the cast is, really.
Yeah.
It's like, what are these people doing? What's Chris O'Dowd doing in here? Like, yes, that's probably the most interesting character in the movie because he kind of feels like he's in a different movie, you know?
Mm.
Like, he definitely plays it up a lot more comedically. But, yeah, to me, despite having a good cast, that Gugu, I love Mubatra, yeah. I love her. She's great. It's just, the story isn't interesting at all, and the connections to Cloverfield feel incredibly forced. Like, it really... Apparently, this movie was not a Cloverfield movie, and then J.J. Abrams picked it up and added, like, a few scenes to make it one. So it's like, you can kind of tell that by watching it. And, I don't know, the story it does tell, I mean, the different dimensions it kind of incorporates is kind of interesting, but it just doesn't really go anywhere. Of interest.
It seems like it's never good when a movie needs like someone else to step in and try to do other stuff. I feel like that's always a sign of bad things that happen in any film, in my opinion. But yeah, it's sad because I feel like a lot of people were kind of excited for this film coming out.
The way they marketed it was awesome. So just kind of be like, it's coming out after the Super Bowl.
It's kind of a shame they did it. They
didn't do it justice.
They half-assed it. Like it's. Really
I hate that Netflix is getting blamed for it because, like.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Yeah, like whatever. Like they did a baller job trying to release it. You know. Yeah, I still think Netflix is a great.
Yeah, Netflix is doing other things.
Netflix almost got Annihilation. It has the worldwide rights for it, but didn't get it domestically.
Yeah, no, Netflix has been doing well. Like. The Ritual is one we just talked about. Like my dad texted me earlier saying he watched it, and it's like he would never have watched that if it was in theaters. But since it went to Netflix,
Bright did super well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these movies.
It wasn't a great movie. I mean, you kind of liked it, but it wasn't a great movie. But it did. It got like 11 million views the first 3 days.
Yeah, but that's why, like a lot of these movies, it's nice that
that
people
doesn't count phones or laptops. It's just TV.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild.
It's been good for film, but. Yeah, so don't check that one out. Actually, we didn't really give our ratings.
I'll give it a 4.5.
I'll give it a 3. I just didn't.
Wow,
like it. Yeah,
that's pretty low.
It was half-assed. I'd rather have an interesting failure than a half-assed product that has already been done before. So I'll give it a 3. So that's it. I believe that's it. We're going to save Phantom Thread and Mute for the show this Friday.
Well, Ryan, you haven't watched Mute yet.
Yeah, I'll try to watch it before Friday. But we're going to save both of those, and maybe we'll see Game Night this week too. That's the other big release. But it was nice to finally review all these movies, so hopefully you guys check this video out. This definitely was a more looser show, but I mean, it's going to be more looser without like the restrictions of radio, but we'll be back on radio on Friday. Check this one out as well as our other videos on At the Movies with Matt and Ryan. Thanks, Trent, for joining us this time.
Thanks for having me, boys.
I'm sure he'll be back. And
Have a good one.
see you guys.